Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reselling Rhythms. I'm your host, Adamsexploits. Adam, if you don't know who I am. In today's live stream video, I'm going to discuss reselling on the various e-commerce platforms with my guest, have him share his tips and strategies to help make us more successful and profitable resellers. If you're a reseller or interested in becoming a reseller, then you are in the right place. Just want to say hello to a few people in my chat. And say hello to my moderator, who I know is here, Miss Sharon. I always appreciate you being here, Sharon. Thank you so much. I see Mr. Craig here. Thank you for being here, Craig. We have a super knowledgeable, great guest on this evening. I'm going to start very shortly because I tell you guys I don't like to keep the people watching the replay waiting. So I just say hello to a couple of you guys, and I'm sure Michelle will be in shortly. Just a heads up, I want to make sure I mention this a couple times. Sharon will be on my show next Wednesday, and the first show we're going to be talking about Facebook Marketplace. Myself personally, and I think a lot of other sellers are kind of missing the boat with Facebook Marketplace, and Sharon is, in my opinion, is an expert on it. So I'm really looking forward to having Sharon on. So let me bring my guest in, and we shall get this party started, as we like to say. Right now, I'm going to put you on the main screen, my friend. You're such a handsome-looking guy there.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Well, Randy is always in my chat. I really appreciate him being here every week in, week out. He's an extremely knowledgeable reseller and wholesaler. I don't want to steal his thunder. So, Randy, why don't you tell us about your entrepreneurial spirit and all the different types of businesses, and key specifically on your reselling business, if you would, please.
Yeah, I've been roasting coffee most of my life. I started back in 1972 and developed flavored coffees. Pretty much in the beginning, there were only 3 flavored coffees out there, which was, I believe, amaretto, chocolate raspberry, and vanilla. And grew that business quite a bit. I mean, we virtually we're in every grocery store in the whole northeastern region, from Tops in New York down to Maryland, with Giant and Acme and Gennardi's and Clemens and most of the major grocery stores. Probably quite earlier than you've seen coffee in grocery stores, at least whole bean coffee. I still roast coffee today, but I also do quite a bit of reselling. And I pretty much started my last eBay store when I was in the hospital. I had a stroke. I was paralyzed. I only had the ability to use one hand. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. So my wife bought me a tablet, and we opened up an eBay store. That was in 2014. I had been involved long before that, and we do a lot of business with Amazon. We're suppliers for Amazon. They actually purchase from us. And I do things on even smaller platforms such as Macari and Bonanza. Bonanza is a good practice site because to get started, you really don't need to pay anything. But even being in the hospital and paralyzed, and you can still get an eBay store started. This year we'll do somewhere from 2014. We grew it so far to a little bit over $250,000 in sales. We've already eclipsed $1 million in total sales on the site, but it's something that you have to actually like. It's a lifestyle. It's not just to get out of a job. So don't start a thing that you're not interested in, because that's just a novelty, and novelties wear off quite quickly. And then it becomes worse than a job, because it becomes a job that you don't make any money. And that's a real drag, at least when you work for somebody else. You make money.
Absolutely. So, like I said, you started out in the coffee, and you've pretty much, how long you said you've been in the, you and I have had multiple pre-show chats. How long have you been your own boss, so to speak, over the years?
Since I was 20.
Since you were 20.
And I'm almost 70.
So we're going to say at least 40 years.
Close to 50, yeah.
Okay. Well, I know. I think I'm a little bit younger than you, so I said I'll be safe and say 40 years.
That's okay.
Around my age. So, okay. So, like I said, I want to get into a little bit about the strategies and things that you do. I guess YouTube is not cooperating with the announcements, but we'll get all this together, and I'm sure we'll probably be filling in very shortly. Sometimes they go out quickly. Sometimes it takes them 5-10 minutes to get the announcements out. So, again, I don't like to keep you people waiting when they watch the replay, so we'll get into that. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think in starting eBay, you have to look at it like a race, okay? And when you're running a race, you got to have your eye on the prize, okay? Whether it be the checkered flag or the cup or whatever. You know, you see horses and they have blinders on. That's so they can't look left or right. And you don't see the jockey looking left and right. He's looking straight ahead. It doesn't matter what the guy's doing behind him. It doesn't matter what the guy's doing aside of him, as long as he's the first guy in, okay, and he's going to win the race. You got to look at it as a race. And the other real important thing is bad company corrupts good character. So get around positive people who are doing maybe the same kind of thing as you want to do. But at least that way you can be encouraged and not discouraged, because you can easily get discouraged. All you got to do is start complaining about eBay or Bonanza and all the goofy stuff that they do. You know what? You got to be able to put that aside. You know, I know it's hard. I used to tell my drivers who worked for me, when a store manager or somebody in the store gives you trouble, go out in the truck and scream, and then you can call them whatever name you want to call them. Don't do it in the store, because it's only going to be a problem and cause you problems.
Yeah, that's fair. And unfortunately, as I'm getting older, and I don't want to get involved too much with what's going on now. You keep saying I'm not supposed to mention what's going on in the world because YouTube doesn't like it. Well, I'm not monetized, so it really doesn't matter. But anyway, I used to be that way back in the day when I was younger. I had more patience. So I would get frustrated by somebody doing something, or when I was in sales, a customer would do something really aggravate the heck out of me. And I would go in my car and I would do exactly what you said. I would, pull away and pull out the driveway and start hollering and screaming about this person. But now I go food shop and it's like, and I start like on a stage where it's like, you couldn't wait freaking 5 seconds till I got out of your way. You ever hear of social distancing? And I don't say it that loud, but I say it loud enough they can hear it. It's like, I say to myself, I know one of these days you're going to get yourself in trouble. But it's frustrating, it's like you said. But again, like we talk about with eBay and, associating yourself with positive people. And if you don't have an accountability partner, consider getting one or starting an accountability group or a listing group. I know there's listing groups out there where people will post their listings, say set goals for each other, and they'll say, okay, I set 10 listings today, I made my 10 goals, and they'll report it to the group. Like you said, it's a lot easier to get involved in the negative stuff than it is in the positive stuff, and that's part of the reason that I'm here. I know I bring this up pretty much every show. I enjoy helping people and teaching people. Like I said, I have teaching background in my family, and I'm trying to create a positive environment for people to share their information and not be afraid to come out and ask, beginner or intermediate or advanced questions. And hopefully, if I don't know the answer, I can find someone such as yourself or Casey or Katie and Vicky or somebody to answer those questions for us and to help each other and kind of, give back to the community.
Yeah, there's always people that are willing to help, and then there's always people who are willing to hurt. And those people are the people who, I see plenty of YouTube videos where people say, well, I just bought this wonderful box of Amazon returns.
That was one of our subjects to talk about, so go ahead.
And those are returns that were returned for a reason. Okay? It's like saying, well, I made a whole lot of money on this big box of rejects. Yeah, you didn't tell me how much money you spent taking returns back, and how you got banned from one platform and delisted from another. There's no easy money in this. You do what you like, and then you'll never work a day in your life. Something you enjoy, something you're good at. I tried things that other people are good at, and there's always a temptation to, well, I'd like to be like him. Well, the problem is he's not even like him.
He's not even like it. Why don't you explain that for me? I'm confused by that one.
You see a guy on a YouTube channel, and he tells you, I'm doing 30 listings a day. Yeah, 30 of the same item, maybe.
It's one thing if you're listening, like you said, DVDs or books or hard goods or something. If you're listing 30 pieces of clothing with multiple pictures and descriptions and different categories, that's difficult. If you're banging out record albums like bing, bing, boom, 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 you get your camera set up and you got it on a tripod, you're taking pictures, you may be able to bang out pictures for a record in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. But if you're doing a pair of jeans or women's clothing or something, by the time you hang it and turn it around and make sure the picture's correct and then edit the picture, you're not banging out 10 listings an hour or 7 listings an hour on clothing.
Yeah, because you got to measure it, you got to steam it, you got to make sure it looks good.
Right.
And there are plenty of videos that you can watch on how to do these things and how to do them well. They're usually not people who are necessarily sellers. They're usually people who do this professionally for a living.
Right.
And you don't need the $2,000 camera and the $1,000 light set. You can go to you could go to a thrift store actually and pick up some used lights, just so they're white lights and they're not yellow, because you don't want your products looking yellow.
Right. And, you want the daylight. Why don't you share with that? We discussed that a little bit of how you're using different types of lights now. Why don't you tell the people what you're using and how you're relatively inexpensive and what a great job they do?
Well, I went to Costco and I got some shop lights. They're LED lights. And basically I use 2 shop lights that I have sitting on a box. And, they cost me a total of $35.
Yeah, we're out there spending $200-$400 for soft boxes and ring lights and
I have soft boxes.
Right.
They're in my garage.
Yeah.
They're not at my photo studio. And
right.
I have a fairly inexpensive camera. Okay. It takes nice pictures. I had a problem years ago because I am pretty good at photography. So it's really the photographer who is able to capture what the picture looks like. But I took really professional pictures, and Macari kept delisting my photos because they
said they were stock photos, not original.
They thought they were stock photos.
Jeez.
And even after I sent them the originals before I did the editing on the photos, it took me almost 6 months till they stopped taking down my photos and sent me an apology. Because the difficulty came, I did a lot of other people's photographs on the internet. So those photographs were up on the internet under other people's listings because I took them for them.
Oh, so then you would use them in your listings. They would say they were somebody else's listing, even though you took the pictures.
Because that's what Macari does. They look on the internet, and if they see that same photograph, they consider that to be a stock photograph.
Right.
Well, the problem is that stock photograph is mine.
Right.
So what I started to do was I got a cheaper camera and took a lot of out of focus photographs. And then it was fine. And then after I had the out of focus photographs, I went and took the same photograph and, did the editing on it.
Right.
And I sent them both photographs to show that they were taken in the same place.
Right.
And so
sounds like a lot of work, but I guess eventually solved your problem.
It's a lot of work, but it's a lot less work in trying to argue with them and getting hold of their. They don't have very good customer service. And I think
Well, as
that's
I can tell, no one does. I mean, you hear about Amazon, the problems with Amazon, and you and I just discussed the problems with eBay, and it's almost
yeah.
impossible
See,
to get anybody with eBay, and even concierge services and what it used to be.
a lot of people don't tell you the ins and outs of all these sites. You
Right.
realize that if not eBay, I'm sorry, if Amazon takes you down and cancels you, they may owe you $2,000 or $3,000. They may owe you $10,000. Good luck at getting it.
Right.
Okay. So that hard work that you did, unless you go to a lawyer, you're not going to get your money back. And even if you do, you'll pay the lawyer more than
Pay the legal
you
fees.
get
Right.
back.
Yep. Yeah.
And they pretty much know that.
Right. Why don't we just touch a little bit, go back a little bit, rewind a little bit about your camera. What are you using currently now? You said you have a couple of different cameras you use. What are you currently using?
Yeah, I use, I think it cost me $125. It's just a small digital camera.
Point and shoot?
It was yeah.
Okay. Not a mirrorless
Yeah,
camera, just a point and shoot digital.
Yeah. It's nothing, it's not the cheapest camera out there,
Right.
but it's costs a little bit more than $49.
Right.
But
What were you using before? You were using professional, like a DSLR?
Yeah. I mean, I've done photography for a lot of years. I've taught myself how to photograph pictures and use lighting and do editing. Well, when you have a professional camera, I mean, before they got rid of film, I had 45 millimeter cameras,
Which I never even heard of.
which are a little bit more professional than your regular 35 millimeter cameras. But nonetheless, they're it's the photographer. After a while, don't be discouraged because your stuff isn't perfect. It takes a while. Rome wasn't built in a day.
That's true. I am going to try to bring up shortly your pictures, and I just want to make sure I'm going to open up my iPad, and then because I was telling Randy earlier, StreamYard usually makes good improvements. I talked to you guys before. Eventually, I'm going to upgrade. I purchased a new computer. I got to buy a monitor. I'm going to change my software. In the meantime, StreamYard is sufficient, but they changed their sharing screen, and it's a little complicated. So Randy had sent me some pictures. I'm going to try to share them with you guys. So I actually have my iPad open. So instead of me bugging Randy 15 times, can you say it? Can you say it? I'm going to try to do it this way. So let me see if we can do this here. Let me pull this up. Share screen, and we'll do this. We'll do this. And where do I have these pictures? Down here somewhere? I'm going to try with the Chrome tab, see what happens. We shall see. All right, StreamYard, Chrome tabs. Okay. They don't make this easy, do they? Okay. All right, Randy. That's not right.
Well, I'll talk while you get those.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just trying to figure it out. I have the pictures up on the bottom. I can't seem to pull them up. Scott, you keep talking.
The good thing about this show that's a little bit different than the other shows is this. You get a couple of different viewpoints. There you go.
Okay, can you see your pictures now?
I can.
Okay, so hopefully everybody else can. I can see it too. Good. All right, it worked. Hallelujah. All right, let me do that.
The middle row of my warehouse.
Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll just do that, and we'll go here. Yeah, right.
We have 2 levels in this warehouse, and there's about 11,000 square feet. That's my associate taking.
That's your associate
taking a break.
Taking a break.
Yeah.
Well, you're up at 4:30 in the morning, correct?
Yeah, he doesn't get up that early.
He doesn't get up that early. Okay.
This shot is early in the morning, around 9 o'clock, when the first hour of shipping of our eBay orders.
Yeah, obviously you have the conveyor belts, you have the rack systems.
Yeah, they that's I think it's a UPS or a FedEx order that's ready to go out. We usually shrink wrap them because they come by truck every day to pick them up.
Okay.
And that's an order, I believe, for Amazon.
Wow. It's nice. That's a nice size order.
Yeah, it was altogether there's 6 pallets because there's some pallets on the other side you can't see.
Okay.
This is what the rows look like on each side. They're pretty full, but we get most of this stuff out in 10 days or less.
Wow. That's impressive. Okay.
Yeah, we have about nine avenues of selling, and I'm going to be interested in your show next week because I think Facebook is an up and coming platform that they're protecting themselves, and they also see that this is another stream of revenue that pretty much they've kind of made available, but they haven't done a whole lot with it.
True. Back in the day, and when I talk about it on the show, and I'm old school. Oh, Facebook Marketplace. You listed something locally, and then somebody would say, "Oh, I want to buy your bicycle." Yeah, and they come to your house, and you sell it on in your driveway or your garage, or you'd meet them at a convenience store or a Walmart or something parking lot. You do exchange there. Well, now with everything that's going on, you try not to have interactions with people that closely. So Facebook Marketplace has decided they're going to do shipping, and they're going to charge the buyer shipping. So that really broadens your horizons, so to speak. It really opens the marketplace up.
When you see something like this, I think it shows you that there's a hole in the marketplace.
Yes.
And somebody's going to fill it. While eBay is trying to be like Amazon and Amazon's trying to control the world, there's something that's missing. And, any kind of hole somebody's going to fix. They're going to fill that thing. And when I spoke with Facebook last week, they gave me an indication of some of the things and some of the features they have available. And I don't want to get into them because I don't want to get into the person next week.
Right.
I don't know what they have to say, but I'll tell you what, believe me, it's interesting. I think they're going to be a mover and a shaker. I think Amazon has some big competition coming, not just in Facebook, but also in Walmart.com. And I think Walmart.com has the infrastructure to basically go head to head with Amazon. And I even wonder if that's not maybe one reason why Jeff Bezos has decided to step down.
Really?
Yeah, it's good to have a good reputation to say, yeah, I took it to the top. But now that there's a possibility of having another competitor, which can be just as strong, you don't want to be the guy to say, well, yeah, he took it to the top, but he didn't stay there.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Don't forget that at one time, Sears was the most formidable enterprise on earth. And now it's gone.
True.
Sears was the Amazon of his day. Everybody couldn't wait to get the Sears catalog. And not just because they ran out of toilet paper.
They ran out of toilet paper.
Hey, Sears sold houses. And
did they sell houses back in the day? Okay.
Oh, yeah. And now Amazon's selling tiny houses.
Right.
There's nothing new under the sun.
I'm going to try to pull up some of your pictures, and you and I had talked like guys. I tell you all the time, and I'm assuming you believe me. I'm a relatively honest guy. typically spend a lot of time trying to put these shows on, and I appreciate you guys all being here, and you know, everyone in this chat I know very well, and you're very loyal to me, and I really appreciate that. But you know, it's not easy sometimes, and I put a lot of time into the show. But anyway, I'm gonna try to pull these up, and we'll see what's getting going here as far as the share screen, because like I said, StreamYard in their infinite wisdom decided to change their share screen. So let me try this again and see if we can pull this up for you, Randy. I do have my iPad up, so I'll be able to see it. We'll do a share screen, and I'm going to do my entire screen because I have these pictures. Let's see if I can pull these up here. All right. Is that going to come up for me? I'm going to check my iPad, see if that comes up. There we go. Why don't you get in this a little bit about your different pictures here?
Okay.
So this is a 1049. Now this is your listing, correct?
No.
Oh no, this is your sister's listing.
This one is my sister's listing.
Okay.
Okay. It's the exact same product at $10.49 a pound.
Right.
And over the last year, she sold 108 of these.
Okay.
Okay.
And let's see if I can pull this up for you. Should
now,
be
this is
momentarily.
my listing. Yep, it came up.
Okay, good.
This is my listing. I sell them for $1 more a pound than she does, and I've sold over 1,500 as opposed to 108.
Okay.
We share a warehouse.
Okay, this is the what is this difference on this one here? The little one, 1198.
The only difference is that's the listing on eBay, so you can see.
Let's see how it looks on eBay. I got you. Okay.
Right, you can actually see that we're number one.
Oh, that's why you put that. Right, that's right. You put that because you want to show that you were number one in the listing, and you were a higher price. And yep.
So you don't have to be the lowest price.
Correct.
You just got to take advice. See, the wisest person isn't the person who talks. The wisest person is the person who listens.
True. I learned this lesson. It was rather harsh when I learned this lesson. I was in between jobs, and I had to sell. I didn't have to sell mattresses, but I was selling mattresses, and that was not the greatest job in the world. But anyway, and I'm a big proponent of these different sayings over the years, and you know why they're there, and you know the usefulness of it. But one of the things that came up in my training was apparently I was when I'm nervous I talk a lot. So apparently I was talking too much when the customers were there. So the salesman said to me, he goes, Adam, remember, he goes, you have, what did he say? You have 2 eyes and 1 mouth. You know why that is? Because you'll listen, not 2 eyes, I'm sorry, 2 ears and 1 mouth. Because you'll listen twice as much as you speak. Got a point there.
You always have to shut up after you get the sale because you got it.
Right.
I've seen plenty of people talk themselves out of it.
Lose a sale. Yep.
Now, here's one piece of advice in listing an item. Not everybody calls the same thing the same thing. For instance, if you go to New England and you order a hoagie, you don't order a hoagie, you order a grinder.
Or a sub. Or submarine, or
that's right. They're called a sub. They're called an Italian sandwich.
Well, and here it's hoagie in the Philadelphia region because apparently that had something to do with the naval yard, and that's what the naval workers used to call them. Those sandwiches just call them hoagies. So but you call a hoagie out, like I said, out in the middle of the country. They're like, what the heck do you want?
Sure.
And it's Jersey Mike subs, which is
when
weird.
I lived in Indiana,
hoagies in South Jersey, but there's subs in North Jersey.
When I lived in Indiana, I asked what kind of soda they had.
They call it pop?
They call it pop.
Yeah.
And there's other places that call it soda pop.
Or soda water.
You know, or in New England, they call it tonic.
New England calls soda tonic. I wasn't aware of
Yeah.
that. Okay.
So when you're listing, you could put all those words in, and it will reach different people. And there's so many things to sell that's why I say sell what you know and sell what you like. I started out, I think the first time I tried selling at flea markets was back in 1973, I believe it was. I worked for a company that made rope. Okay.
Are you going to tell me your hemp rope story?
Yeah.
I was interested. Why don't you share that? That was very interesting.
Yeah, I went into my boss and I said, you know what? You got a 40-yard container. It's almost the size of a tractor trailer of product that you're throwing away. If you give me the company van, I will fill it and I will go out and I'll bring you back some money for it instead of you paying to get rid of it.
Paying to have it removed, you're going to bring in money, right?
So I did. Now, I didn't know how much I was going to sell, but I thought, you know what? That's fine. Wow. If I bring back $100, that'd be fine. Well, I came back and I threw a whole lot of money on his desk, well over $1,000.
Well over $1,000, and he's probably paying $500, $600, $700 to dispose of it.
Yeah. So I basically turned his trash into treasure. Well, that trash into treasure is all over the place. Mm-hmm. It's just that you have to see what it is.
Right.
You know, the guys who made tons of money during the antique days were garbage collectors.
Right.
Everything that people threw out, well, they kind of hoarded it.
What do they call it? The Curbco Society. They used to call it Curbco instead of trash picking.
Yeah, I mean, people who ran their own trash routes didn't have a whole lot of money. So they'd pick it up and they'd hoard it. Well, all of a sudden, people started collecting that stuff, and the stuff that people threw away, they're getting $4,000 or $5,000 for it. I know one guy who barely had food to eat. And after that whole thing took place, he was the richest guy in town.
Right.
He had warehouses full of antique dressers and all stuff that people threw out.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, there is more ways than you'll ever know to sell things. I mean, here's something that I've never seen anybody on YouTube talk about. You know, when you go into a department store and you see a setup of whatever, let's say you're going to Lowe's or Home Depot, and you go there and you go into the rope. We'll talk about the rope section. Okay. And there's a company in there selling rope, whether it be Crow Rope or Lehigh Cordage or some other company. Well, you know how they got in there? They bought out the competitor. All right. They said, you know, we'll give you our rope and we'll buy back the competitor because we don't want that competitor in there. We want our product in there right away.
So they pay wholesale, they pay retail for the product.
Well, it depends how you negotiate the deal.
Right.
Sometimes they even pay retail plus.
Wow. Okay. To get the shelf spot. And they said then there's shelving placement fees as well. You were explaining to me before.
So
like slotting fees.
Yeah, they take that stuff back to their warehouse. Well, guess what? They can't sell it. So what are they going to do with it? They're either going to throw it away or they're going to have a guy like you come up and say, you know what? I will buy all your buybacks.
Yes.
It's perfectly good product.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's new. And it's
pay attention, people. Where's my pro tip banner?
it's 3 to 10 cents on the dollar.
Yeah. That is something I would have never even thought of, but you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
As that company grows, you know what? You can be the person who gets all of it.
Right. And like we talk about networking and building relationships. That's what you do.
You know, I mean, or you go
Be
on
nice to people. Be nice to the warehouse person. Be nice to the administrative assistant. Be nice to the whomever. Obviously, the president and the vice president. But be nice to everybody. All work your way up. Be nice to everybody.
when I
Hey, bring him
was
some coffee or something.
well, actually, that works
You
really
have
good.
coffee. You can bring him bags of coffee. But
a dozen donuts is some of the best money you can buy.
there you go, and it's right off business expense.
I go to the docks, and I've been going there for 35 years to the warehouses to pick up my product. Now, the docks are pretty much run by prisoners from work release.
Oh, really?
It's not easy work.
Wasn't aware of that. Okay.
You can be sitting
So they're
there.
not unionized like what are those positions were called back in the day?
Longshoremen.
Longshoremen, correct. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's a step beyond actually where you're going to pick product up yet.
Okay.
That's just on the incoming, and there's
Gotcha. They're unloading,
a whole set of fees
loading and unloading the containers, right?
But when you go there, you need an appointment.
Okay.
I mean, you can try to go without an appointment, but you'll be waiting about 8 or 9 hours.
Good luck with that, right?
But even with an appointment, you can be waiting 4 or 5 hours. So you stop off at the Dunkin' Donuts and you pick up a dozen donuts and you take them in for the guys. You know what? They'll load you up at lunchtime when the roach coach shows up. They'll load you up right away. They'll have tractor trailers pull out so you can pull in and get loaded. All for a dozen donuts. And when you're paying $30 an hour to drive a truck, okay, and pick up a load of stuff, $5 for a dozen donuts, instead of him waiting there for 5 hours at $30 an hour, is a great investment.
I say that all the time, guys, and I know I keep refreshing these things, but value of time. Perfect example of what Randy just showed us. He's paying his man $30 an hour. He invests, well, I don't know what donuts cost now. Now they're probably more to flat out. What donuts cost probably at least $1 a piece now, right? Whatever they are. I don't even buy donuts. I can't buy donuts. But anyway, he invests that money in a dozen donuts, and it paid him back tenfold. Because instead of his guy waiting there 8 hours, maybe he waited there 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk in the door, they know who you are.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
another guy walks in the door.
Thanks for the donuts.
He didn't have donuts. You have the donuts. You get the treatment.
Right.
Okay, because everybody likes donuts.
Well,
it doesn't matter if it's Dunkin' Donuts or what it is. Just bring them something good, and you'll get the right treatment.
Absolutely.
That's a trick I've used, and it's worked for 30 years.
Why don't we're talking about, things that people like and different things. When we get in, I told you before, I want to discuss replenishables or replens. And I think a lot of us are missing the boat with replenishables. Why don't you get into the theory about replenishables? We had talked a little pre-chat about that, and we had discussed explain the type of item and what categories we should be interested in: food, health and beauty, supplements, the pluses and minuses of each, including how difficult it is to become a wholesale customer for these items.
Well, actually, I think the best way to source your item, first of all, is to have some interest and some knowledge in it.
Do some research. Right?
I chose coffee because I've been involved in coffee all my life. I chose tea because I imported tea. And candy, my relatives were in the candy business since the 1850s. So the family knew a lot about those products. And those are replenishables. Those are things that people use all the time. Okay. But maybe you're interested in nail polish and you know a lot about nail polish and those basic drugstore items. Okay. They're always available. They are available from overstock places, and the overstock places are becoming more and more and closer together. So if you live on the East Coast, you don't have to go to the West Coast. It'll kill you in shipping. Okay. Right. But develop a relationship. Sometimes it pays to pay a little bit more. You know, in the spice trade, I always bought the high-end spices because very few people want the high-end spices. They want to pay for the cheap ones because the cheap ones sell quicker, according to them. But I get the premium product, and I don't have to fight with the underground dwellers. Okay.
And you set the price. You don't have, like I say, you don't have to worry about the race to the bottom with the pricing.
Right. And if you have a relationship, I have a relationship with the largest importer in the country in spices, but I've garnered that relationship for now almost 50 years. I used to not be able to buy direct. I used to have to go to a broker. And the good reason was that I went to the broker was a customer of mine. So you couldn't go to that spice house and buy from them. You had to buy it through a broker. Well, when I wanted to get back into the spice trade, I called up and I said, "You remember me? Can I buy from you? Or must I go back through the broker?" And because of the relationship that I had with them, I didn't have to go back through the broker. And I deal with the president of the company. And it's kind of funny because a lot of times the president of the company now was just a salesman many years ago. So usually when I want something, I get what I want only because when they were the little guy, I kind of helped them out and bought from them. And now they own the company. So when I have a problem as well, I just ask for the person who is the president of the company, since I know him.
Right. Well, what did we say earlier? From the guy, you know, in the receiving to the administrative assistant to
Sure.
Be nice to everybody. It doesn't kill you. I'll give you, this kind of a little off topic, but you guys know I was in the wine and liquor business for a while, and I still friendly with one of my friends that's still in the business. And he was talking about back in the day, there's this larger bar, and they had a little liquor store attached to it. Does very well over the years. And the father ran it. So, some of the sons wanted to be in the business, some didn't. So the one was, I guess the guy's name, Junior, whatever. And he used to always enjoy making hamburgers. So he'd be on the grill making the hamburgers for lunchtime crowd and everything. Well, now that person, that my friend, was always extra nice to him, always said hello to him, always would order hamburgers from him and say, "Oh, God, that's a delicious hamburger," whatever this guy's name was. Today, he is the owner, and he's running the place, and my friend writes 90% of the business.
I really don't know how many times when somebody came to sell me something, and obviously the first person they had to go through was my secretary.
Right.
Plenty of times they were nasty to my secretary. And
they didn't get any further.
Even though I would have probably bought their product, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And plenty of times they were really nice to my secretary. And I said to her, "I don't really want to see this guy, just blow him off." And she said, "I think you ought to see him." So I said, "Okay, send him in." And he became a vendor.
Yeah.
So depending on how you treat the first person that you see, they may not be the person you want to see, but they're the
gatekeepers often. They're the gatekeepers. If you can't get past them, you don't get to the person you want to see.
I mean, one of my early girlfriends was the door person at Studio 54.
Oh, don't get me started on that. I'm sorry about that.
If you wanted to get into Studio 54, you had to be nice to the door person.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I don't care.
Well, unless you look like a supermodel, and I don't know if you or I never looked like a supermodel. Maybe you look like a male supermodel back in the day, but I never did.
So, yeah, it was easier to get in if you were strange than if you were good looking.
Right.
But nonetheless, buy what you like, buy what you know. Don't buy. I see plenty of videos for people who go, "Oh, I just bought this big box of liquid Amazon returns, and it was worth $90,000, and I got it for $200. That doesn't exist. It's a waste of time. It's going to take you more time to process that stuff. Everything on those TV shows, because they got one now about liquidations.
I got in trouble for that.
It,
That's another story.
it's
I got a
staged.
warning because I played the intro and I was trying to help A&E promote their show because I knew some people in the show, and they gave me a warning because I played their intro. It's like, I'm trying to help you promote your show. What? Whatever. I didn't get a strike. I just got a warning. But anyway, got it. Sorry.
Realize that it's entertainment. Take
Right.
it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, you may get lucky.
And now with Via Trading, they're so popular, and they're on the the show, so their prices are going through the roof. There's more competition.
Yeah.
I still get their newsletters. Because back in the day I used to watch Steve and Steph, and I think Michelle, you probably still do.
But there's plenty of ways to source things. Just be creative. I don't care if you go to flea markets, if that's not your thing, if you go to yard sales, but buying something that you can repeat and replenish takes a whole lot less time.
Absolutely, because you don't have to continually list it. You're listing it. You're just updating your quantities, and you have it down to a science. Like if it's something small, like you say, like nail polish or whatever, you have with the packages, and you bang it out in like 1 minute. Shut the label on it. Especially your volume you're doing. You're using the I'm having brain freeze, like the Epson labels or something, or the Dymo labels, and you just slap them on. It's easy. It's not like you're like me with the tape and the cutting them to the size like an idiot. But
yeah,
one of these days I'm going to spend the money and convert to the.
I just bought 94 cases of zebra labels.
Oh, why don't you bring that up to me? You and I had discussed this, and I'm not saying that specifically, but how we had discussed about networking and applying that to your supplies, and if you're making a purchase. Why don't you get into that a little bit? Explain that to the people. I thought it was a great tip.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are not able to buy certain volumes and certain quantities. So they're going out to, let's say, to Walmart and picking up a little roll of bubble wrap. And that bubble wrap is costing them probably 20 times as much, rather than a couple of people who are doing the same thing, getting together, okay, and sharing some of the responsibilities and some of the purchases. When I get boxes from the post office, I get 10 pallets of boxes at a time. Okay. One, they're free, but I use quite a bit. But there are other things that I buy, and I buy them by the pallet. Okay. The 94 cases of zebra labels that retail for $70 a box, I bought for $6.
$6.
$6.
Guys, that's why I bring people on like Randy. I mean, who would have known that? And he's just dropping knowledge bombs here left and right. So again, network with your reselling friends. Maybe you buy a lot of bubble wrap, and say, okay, I'll buy a pallet of bubble wrap. I'll keep like half of it, and we'll split it up with the other 2 or 3 other people, and we'll whack it up, and I'll sell it to you at my cost. And maybe somebody else is going to buy a bunch of envelopes or a bunch of zebra thermal printer labels or whatever. It doesn't hurt you to ask, guys. And like Randy's saying, he's paying it almost like a tenth of the
10%
normal retail price.
And I could buy even more because I've been doing this for a long time. I have a lot of contacts that maybe somebody else doesn't have.
Right.
Okay. But I don't have a problem. It doesn't hurt me to share those things. Sometimes it takes me to an even lower price bracket. Okay. And I don't mind sharing those things and those resources. Maybe let's say a group of 6 people in your town are doing this.
Right.
And one guy's good at photography, but the rest of you are not so good at it. So you have him do all the photographs, and maybe you're good at, I don't know, packing pimples. Oops. You pool your resources. I mean, just think if we were all plumbers. Okay, we live in a PVC house with a toilet, maybe running water, but we wouldn't have any electricity because everybody's a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody can't be a plumber. Maybe you worked in a factory where they make scales. so you can get a good deal on scales for everybody. Okay. And you're not, even if when you're selling used goods, all right, there's plenty of them around and you're really not competing with each other. Why do you think McDonald's and Burger King are pretty much next to each other and across the street from each other? Because they basically both draw traffic for themselves.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you can come to me even if you sell the same thing or if you sell something different. We're not really competing. I had a guy who used to stock shelves for me, but he also stocked shelves for 3 other coffee companies. Okay. And you said, well, doesn't that bother you? Well, no, because at least if he's stocking it for the 3 of us, he's controlling the aisle in the grocery store. Okay. It doesn't benefit him to push me out.
Yeah. Why would he cut you? Because you're putting food on his table.
You know,
he's not going to cut your faces because you're paying his salary.
so my stuff is even more protected.
Right.
People in the same town can work together. Why spend gas for 6 people to run to the same thrift shop? I mean, you don't even necessarily sell the same thing. I mean, in my town, thrift shops are pretty big, and there's probably about 8 or 10 of them. But there's always plenty of stores that are going out of business.
Well, especially these days. Yeah, sure.
And the nice thing is a lot of these chain stores, they got more stores in the area than they even need. So,
True.
You can get around to 6 or 7 stores and clean them out of good stuff.
Right. I'm just trying to think again, guys. If you have any questions, think about your questions, put them in the chat, and I'll be monitoring the chat, and Sharon and Michelle will be monitoring the chat. We'll bring them up. And again, guys, we have a great opportunity to ask questions. If there's something going on your mind, maybe you're thinking, oh, I just want to ask this question. Randy seems really knowledgeable. Why don't you bring it up in the chat, and maybe you can share that with the group, and then it'll help everybody out. I want to just touch on a couple of things. We had discussed about the different shipping services, and you were saying they're pretty much owned by like one company. And what are the advantages to obviously I'm a smaller seller, but with the medium and larger sellers, are there advantages? Like you and I had discussed about with eBay with the above standard, top rated plus. What are the advantages and disadvantages of some of these services? And like you said, they're pretty much owned by everybody. Are there advantages using different services? For a medium or larger reseller?
Well, I think so. eBay has come a long way since the early days. Okay, so I mean, if you knew what they were like in the early days, and you see what they are now, you really see how far they've come. Okay, but at the same time, when it comes down to shipping companies, I use ShipStation. Well, ShipStation is owned by Stamps.com, and so is Indicia, and so is Shipping Easy. Okay, and they all have their pluses and minuses, even within that group. Now, right. In some ways, it's more expensive, but you're also paying for time. Okay, it takes me less than half the time to print out my labels from ShipStation than it does from eBay. Plus the fact with ShipStation, I can collate those. So if I'm selling 6 of these, but I sold 3 on eBay and 2 on Amazon and 1 on Walmart and 1 on Macari and 1 on Bonanza, okay, I can print that all at the same time. So if let's say I sold 6 or 10 widgets, okay, that's 10 widgets that somebody grabs 10 of, packs it up, ships it out. So I can combine those. Well, I can't do that if I have to go to eBay. And then
I never thought of that. That's a great tip. Yeah, you don't have to go like the eBay and Poshmark and Macari and Bonanza and individually ship everything. You just go to your ShipStation and prints them all out at one time.
Now,
again, value of time. Time is money.
I use 6 Zebra printers.
6 Zebra printers. Well, no wonder you buy so many labels.
Yeah. And I use 1 HP printer. That stands for hardly prints.
Well, sometimes they last a long time. Sometimes they don't last very long. Those HP printers.
Yeah.
I've sort of a fan, and I have a. Now I'm back to. I have a HP LaserJet, and I have a LaserJet HP photo printer, and I have a Epson, not Epson, Brother. I like Brother for the laser printers.
But I find that if I put my Zebra printers, even though they're louder, on the slowest setting, they last a lot longer. I burn at least one of these out a year.
Wow.
So I have to replace them. And I have one that I can't figure out how to do it, but it's actually wireless.
And again, I didn't give you like the heads up on this, but can you share with? I mean, I don't want dollar volume, but can you share with us like how many items in a typical year you would ship out on the reselling end of it? Do you ship out 500 items a week, 300 items a week on average? What is your typical?
A couple thousand a week.
Couple thousand items a week, guys.
Yeah.
Couple thousand items per week. Wow.
But I've been doing it a long time, and
but
the only thing I don't have is I don't have a social media page.
Well, yeah, Marrakesh was asking about, do you have a channel? And again, I really appreciate you joining us, and I want to try to have you on as a semi-regular. You're always in my chat, and I tell you how important loyalty is and friendship is to me, and you're always there for me, and I really appreciate you joining the show so we can have you on every few months, and it's just a wealth of knowledge, and I really enjoy that you're giving back to the community and trying to help other resellers grow their business.
I mean, let's face it, I'm not going to live forever, and somebody else has to come along after me. So
you're the big shoes that you have, right? Well, I'm a size 15 4E, so I have really big feet. But
I'll tell you what, it never hurts to pay it forward.
Right.
All right. I spent 10 years teaching a guy how to roast coffee. He was a guy from Colombia who grew up in a coffee farm.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't know how to roast coffee. So I spent 10 years in teaching him how to roast coffee. All right. When I had my stroke, he was the guy who had to roast coffee for me.
How about that? He came over and he helped you roast your coffee while you were incapacitated. How about that?
So, I mean, I spent 4 months.
He paid it forward, and yeah.
And to this day, I know how he roasts coffee because I taught him how to do it.
And it's going to be done right because you taught him.
So he's going to do it to the standard that I have. And you know what? That was payback. And years ago, a friend of mine in the coffee business in upstate New York, who his main customer actually was Quaker Oats, because you'd be surprised who's in the coffee business, and Quaker Oats is one of them. And they're very big in coffee. Well, we bought the same equipment, and we bought the same packaging equipment and the same film. And the reason we did that was when he'd get backed up, he'd send me a fax and say, "Can you do this for me?" I'd roast the coffee, and we'd flavor it, grind it, and pack it, and ship it out to either Quaker Oats, or we'd ship it to Ireland Coffee in Atlantic City, or a bunch of different companies.
So you would fulfill his orders for him.
Right. And he would fulfill mine as right. I got backed up.
Yep.
And we had a really good relationship for a long time. And I'm not the only company that did this. Many major companies, you would be surprised who makes chocolate out there. There's not too many companies.
Yeah, you want to think probably 2 or 3 other big ones, right?
There's plenty of companies who sell chocolate, but because one company's name is on it, doesn't mean that they're the ones who manufactured it.
Right.
And that's why you'll find chocolates in other countries under the same label that don't taste the same.
Right.
Now, I can't give you any more information than that.
Well, I don't want you to give proprietary information out. You have a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, and by sellers getting together, you can get far better rates than what you get on eBay and Amazon, because they're getting those rates and they're actually making money by reselling those rates to
We
you.
discussed that too, and that's the issue now with all these refunds of the shipping. Then the eBay says, well, let's ship them another one. So they whack you on the shipping the first time. They're making money on the shipping because they're paying less than what they're charging you.
Right.
You're paying commission on that, and they want you to ship out again. They make money, so it's like a double bubble for them.
Yeah, and they have what's called a reseller's license with the post office. Well, when you do certain kind of volumes, you can get a reseller's license too.
Right.
Yeah, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
No, you can't disclose the rates you're paying, right?
Those couple dozen boxes that they're willing to give you, well, they have a whole lot more boxes that are available.
So you said they have a lot of other boxes that they'll provide for you free of charge if you do any kind of volume.
Yeah, I would say at least 50 or 60 different sizes that you can only get if you buy them. Not buy them, but you can only get if you're using
right?
a certain amount of volume. I'm going to reach that volume this year.
Okay.
So the nice thing too is your contracts are for 3 years, so your postage prices go up only every 3 years,
as opposed to going up. Well, it went up twice last year, but typically they go up once a year. So you lock those rates in for 3 years, which is
right.
The kind of volume you're doing. That's huge, guys.
Right.
Again, I want to. If there's any other questions, again, hopefully Randy will be agreeable to coming on in the future a few times. If there are any other questions you want to ask Randy before he leaves, I try to keep it around an hour. I just want to bring a couple of other quick things up and mention a couple of things to you. I wanted to remind you that Sharon will be on next Wednesday talking about Facebook Marketplace, and I'm really excited about that. I think a lot of us are missing the boat, including myself, not selling on Facebook Marketplace. So Sharon will be on next Wednesday. I need to reach out to some of you about that. We may be pushing it back an hour or so to accommodate what we need to do. But anyway, so definitely want to be here next Wednesday. If there are any other questions, bring them up in the chat for Randy. Randy, I just want to touch. We didn't really get into too much in like the daily business of that you do. I think we discussed this on the phone, and I forget what I discussed with you and what came up, but I'm assuming you do best offers with your listings.
Yeah. I like to keep a listing alive. And when I do a best offer, I always end it in 2 cents. See, that way I know it's a best offer.
Okay, but I mean, do you send out offers to watchers too? If people are watching, do you send that daily? Do you send out?
Yeah. Now, there is one downside to that.
Okay.
And I think eBay needs to address it, but I don't think they will.
The immediate pay?
No, that's the downside too.
Rally Roots video.
Yeah, I saw that video too.
Yeah.
And no, when you send somebody an offer, you can't edit that listing.
Correct.
So if you find a mistake, you can't edit it. If you send out an offer to 30 watchers, okay, and those 30 watchers bought all that you have, you can't even add extra to that listing so that you could sell more.
Get out extra inventory because you can't edit the listing, right?
Right. If you find a mistake, you can't correct it.
Correct.
So there is a downside to that.
Okay. Again, I keep saying assuming. I shouldn't assume because you know what they say when they assume. But you run sales as well. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Sales like most of the other resellers do. They pulse them. They have them on. They drop them. They bring them back up. And
yeah, I think you want to go in on your listings every once in a while and jack the price up for a couple of days and then drop it back to where it was, or even a cent or two lower.
Activity for Cassini, the eBay's algorithm, it sees activity, whether it listing price goes up, goes down, change pictures, change descriptions, whatever. eBay algorithm sees this activity and it helps you with search rankings.
And sometimes I think you price things too low.
Correct.
And you diminish the value of the item. Mm-hmm. And people won't buy it because they think there's something wrong with it.
Right.
So sometimes by raising your prices, it'll make the item more desirable. Kind of like the people who go to Starbucks. You can tell if they go to Starbucks because they hold the cup like this with the logo out so that you know that's where they bought it.
Right. God bless them. They
Uh,
pay $5 for a cup of Starbucks when we should be buying our coffee from you and making it at home, right?
when they asked a woman one time, why do you shop at Bloomingdale's? She said, for the B on the bag.
Okay.
Because people see the B on the bag, they know that she shopped at Bloomingdale's. Well, Bloomingdale's was more expensive.
Right.
So they knew she, just like people who buy a Mercedes because of the star on the hood of the car.
Right. Right.
And you'd be surprised how many people steal those stars.
I remember back in the day, I guess that was in the 70s. Kids used to get into that.
Yeah, they wear them for necklaces.
Right.
I have a 45 in my safe that looks for those people. No.
Again, we're just going to kind of wrap things up quickly. Any other like websites or apps or something that you use that might be a little different than what, again, you're doing high volume, but that you might want to share with us? You think that maybe we might be beneficial to us that we're not aware of?
I would say there's nothing wrong with looking for liquidation sites, but like for instance, I sell remote controls.
Right.
Okay.
You and Casey and Star and everybody else, right?
Yeah, I have 10,000 of them. Okay. I find my best deals on eBay to buy them.
You find better deals buying on eBay than buying from
the
bulk liquidation sites. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. I never bought a battery to test a remote because there's always plenty of batteries in the remotes that are still perfectly good.
There you go.
I actually have hundreds, if not thousands, of batteries that are still good.
Without the batteries, because it's more expensive. You have to ship it differently.
So the only batteries I ever actually bought were the little flat ones that I bought at Tractor Supply.
Right, you did that, right? Yeah, I still have mine sitting around here from from Dollar Tree.
But that was like something that was cheap. It's easy. You know what? If the remote works and you test it on your phone, that's a good item. But you can buy them on eBay. The average purchase price should be around 53 cents, all in.
Right.
And there's plenty of people selling them on there. It's an easy item that sells all the time. I sell probably 20 or 30 a week.
Okay. So that's an opportunity too, guys. Hopefully Randy will be amenable to coming on again in the future. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about remotes and what you look for and the pricing and if not. Just want to bring a couple things up. I did mention Sharon's show a couple times. She will be on next Wednesday talking about Facebook Marketplace. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up before you leave. And if you're not a subscriber, or even if you are a subscriber, please make sure that you are subscribed, because YouTube has the tendency sometimes to unsubscribe you. And make sure you click on the all notification bell. And I'm trying something different, guys. I tell you, I'm trying to up my game a little bit with YouTube. Gets a little pricey, so I'm part of this program called Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. Basically, it's just like, if you appreciate what I'm doing, you want to help me out a little bit, you can make a little donation, buy Adam a cup of coffee. And, we all can't be super duper, high volume dollar YouTube channels. I'm just a little guy trying to help the little guys out. So if you feel the need to help me out, I would really appreciate it. And again, I want to thank Randy for being here, guys. Thank you all for being in the chat. And again, we may be going an hour later next week. I'll keep you posted. I'll put it in my community post with Sharon. We may push Sharon's show back an hour. It'll still be on Wednesday, but we may have to push it back an hour or so to accommodate some of the technicalities. But we'll post it in my community tab, so you'll be aware of that. So thanks for being here, guys. We shall see you next Wednesday. Good night, all.
Ciao.